The whisper came as they lowered my grandfather's coffin. You weren't adopted, she murmured. You were kidnapped. Her breath carried the faint scent of roses and cigarettes. Before I could respond, she slipped a folded envelope into my hand and disappeared into the crowd, a blur among black umbrellas and hollow condolences. Inside were yellowed newspaper clippings. Child missing from private estate. Family offers millions in reward. The photo was me. I remember my fingers trembling as rain bled through the paper, washing my own face into a blur. For 30 years, I believed I was unwanted, a charity case who should be thankful for food, shelter, and constant reminders of my supposed luck. But in that moment, my world split open. Growing up, I was never called daughter or sister. To them, I was the family maid. I ironed my mother's silk dresses, polished my father's shoes, watched their real children open presents while I stood in the corner pretending to smile. Every kindness I offered was met with silence or mockery. Don't forget where you came from, my mother would sneer. You're lucky we took you in. Lucky. I used to whisper that word at night like a curse. The woman's note led me to a name, Marion Cross, a billionaire philanthropist whose daughter disappeared in 1995. The article said she never stopped searching. The reward had risen to $91 million. But that number didn't burn me. What did was the thought of 30 stolen years. I began digging. Quietly, I took my father's old phone from his drawer, synced his cloud to my laptop, and waited. Within hours, I found what I needed, emails between him and a man named Drive Holloway, my real birth certificate, a forged adoption file, bank transfers marked payment for silence. They hadn't saved me. They had bought me. I didn't scream. I didn't confront them. That's what they expected. Noise, chaos. Instead, I planned. For 2 months, I played my part, obedient, quiet, invisible. Behind that mask, I built my revenge. I hired a private investigator under a false name and sent him the documents, the clippings, the forged papers, asking him to trace every record. He found it. A falsified death certificate dated the same week I was adopted. They had erased me. I started small, recording conversations in the house, my father bragging about deals, my mother gossiping about donors. Trivial, but laced with arrogance and fraud. I gathered months of footage and sent it all, anonymously, to journalists, the IRS, and Marion Cross's legal team. When the investigation broke on national news, they still had no idea it was me. The night everything collapsed, we were at dinner. The TV murmured in the background. Breaking, major financial fraud uncovered. Possible connection to the Reynolds family. My father froze mid-bite. My mother turned pale. Then the next headline flashed. Kidnapped heiress possibly found alive. My photo filled the screen, the same eyes, the same birthmark on the collarbone. I set my fork down. Calm, precise. Do you remember the woman who gave you the money 30 years ago? I asked. They said nothing. My father's jaw twitched. My mother's hands trembled. I met her daughter, I whispered. She looks a lot like me. Silence. Then my mother's voice, brittle as glass. You don't understand what we did for you. I stood. No, I said. You don't understand what you took from me. I pressed play on my phone. Their voices filled the room. Laughter. Lies, every sin caught on record. They begged, shouted, denied. I said nothing, just watched as their empire began to crumble. By morning, the police came. So did Marion Cross's lawyers. DNA confirmed it within a week. I was her daughter. The money didn't matter. The truth did. When I walked into Marion's estate, marble halls, portraits, warmth, I didn't feel rich. I felt seen. She cried when she held me, whispering, they can't hurt you anymore. But she was wrong. They already had. A month later, I visited them in prison. They looked smaller behind glass, stripped of power, stripped of lies. My mother reached for me. We loved you, she said. I leaned in. You loved owning me. And I smiled. Small, deliberate. Because justice isn't always loud. Sometimes it's the silence that follows. The silence of people who finally have no story left to tell. Now, I sleep in the room that once belonged to the girl I was meant to be. My name is back where it belongs. But sometimes, when the lights go out, I still hear her whisper. The maid, the ghost, the stolen child. reminding me, revenge doesn't always scream. Sometimes it just waits 30 years, to breathe.